Hey, this is Nate from Info-Bros. I'm going to talk to you today about a local climate change activist group called 350 Sacramento. They get their name from a national group called 350.org. 350.org recently released a new film called Disruption, which is about climate change. 350 Sacramento did a screening of this film on September 7th, 2014. This film was meant to do two things. One, it's meant to scare the crap out of you, make you think the world is coming to an end before your very eyes.
There is new and dramatic evidence of what's happening to our world, and tonight we'll look at the impact already being felt.
The red flags about extreme weather we've all endured together.
We will respond to the threat of climate change, knowing that the failure to do so would betray our children and future generations.
The big question mark is the future, of course, and a new kind of normal.
And two, it's meant to get you to join the so-called grassroots movement for putting an end to carbon emissions or reducing carbon emissions. One thing that the movie's not meant to do is to actually get you to think. The film and really the entire climate change movement is all based on supposedly scientific evidence. Yet the film only dedicates about a little over a minute to this scientific evidence. And it presents the evidence in such a way that it tries to get the viewer to just accept the evidence without really thinking about it deeply. If you actually do take time to examine the evidence they present, you'll find that they aren't exactly being 100% truthful. So let's take a quick look at the science portion of the film.
The science behind our understanding of man-made climate change is very, very old and very well established. So the task we've taken on is documenting this history to help us understand where we are, how we got here, and how we can change course. Scientists have known for more than 150 years that carbon dioxide was a greenhouse gas.
Fourier came up with this notion that there were gases in our atmosphere that allowed sunlight to pass through like a window, but then when sunlight bounced off the Earth's surface, they trapped the heat in, right? So you had now this establishment of what we now call the greenhouse effect.
In the 1850s, John Tyndall made laboratory measurements of the absorption of heat radiation by carbon dioxide. And he concluded that if you change the CO2 in the atmosphere, it's going to affect the planetary energy balance.
Tyndall was the one who really came along and proved that carbon dioxide was a natural thermostat that helped set our planet's temperature.
True, yes. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. But what they don't tell you is that there are other greenhouse gases too. Water vapor is number one. Carbon dioxide, you have methane, and you have ozone. You don't really hear them talking about the other greenhouse gases. It's all about carbon. And you know, they try to focus the science just on climate science, but really what are they talking about? They're talking about planets, okay? Like, look into, study some astronomy. There are a whole lot of other factors that determine the temperature of a planet. You know, how far away is it from the sun? What's the sun's activities? What's the planet's orbit? What's its tilt? The size of the planet? Stefan Boltzmann processes. You know, the mass of a planet is directly related to the temperature. In other words, a smaller planet like Mars will cool off faster than a bigger planet like Earth.
In the late 1800s, it was the great Swedish chemist Arrhenius who first did the calculations about what would happen as we, as he put it, evaporated our coal mines into the air.
This just isn't true. Arrhenius came up with an equation basically to calculate the greenhouse effect, but he never actually said that. That is a quote from other scientists later on. And you could check my sources on that down in the comments below.
People didn't pay much attention to that in the 20th century because we were too busy figuring out cool new ways to burn fossil fuel. It was only in the late 1950s that we even bothered to measure to see if it was accumulating in the atmosphere. That instrument, which went up on the side of Mauna Loa in Hawaii, is the most important scientific instrument in the world. Beginning in 1959, it found that there was a steadily accumulating amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, the so-called Keeling curve.
The Keeling curve is one of the most important pieces of scientific work of the 20th century that shows us that carbon dioxide has been rising continuously and systematically since the Industrial Revolution.
Keeling didn't just show that there was an increase in carbon dioxide, he also pinpointed the source. And what Keeling showed so incredibly was that roughly 1 out of every 4 CO2 molecules in our atmosphere today were put there by us.
Again, all they're talking about is carbon dioxide. They just want the viewer to jump to the conclusion that the Earth is heating up. There's this massive amount of carbon dioxide going up into the atmosphere because of us. And that's the reason that the Earth is heating up and we're all going to die. So out of all the different gases that make up Earth's atmosphere, carbon dioxide only makes up about 0.04% of all the gases. And yet that's what this group is focusing on. They don't discuss any other factors whatsoever. They don't even discuss other factors of, or other sources of carbon dioxide, like different geological processes that emit carbon dioxide.
Another way that this movie is misleading is the fact that it tries to give the viewer a sense that this is just, it's a grassroots movement.
On September 23rd, the United Nations is holding a historic climate summit where they've invited world leaders and heads of state from around the world. We're trying to organize the largest ever climate rally on the streets of New York in response to this.
The idea of who's going to be leading this march are the people in this room.
When really it's the complete opposite. I mean, grassroots movements, the funding comes from crowdsourcing, from regular everyday people. Sacramento Info-Bros is grassroots. 350 Sacramento, on the other hand, they claim to just have nothing to do with 350.org besides the similarity in the name. Well, I mean, this whole campaign showing disruption and the march that goes along with it, it's all organized from the top down. It's not grassroots. And also their funding doesn't come from just a bunch of everyday people pitching in. It comes from, you can look at who their big funders are, it's all government agencies and nonprofits, okay? You're talking about big money. I mean, just look at the production of the film. I mean, how much did it cost just to make that film Disruption? It's high quality. I mean, just for example, just look at the credits of the movie. The credits for the movie are longer than the actual scientific evidence that they present. It's not grassroots. It's not a grassroots movement. It's a manufactured grassroots movement. It's a fake grassroots movement. And this whole climate change movement started at the United Nations with Agenda 21. And you could go read the actual documents. That's when it started from, from the 90s and even before that. They started pushing for this deindustrialization, trying to reduce carbon emissions. Trying to understand what makes planets heat up and cool down is a really interesting topic, and I encourage people to learn more about it. And from a real scientific point of view of not just accepting everything that gets crammed down your throat. Actually think about stuff, ask questions, be skeptical. That's what a good scientist does. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel. Check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/SacInfoBros. Check out our page on planetinfowars.com. Till next time.
Yes, these men and their hypnotized followers call this a new order. It is not new, and it is not order.